What's up, everybody? This is Jackson Davis-Wally with VYPE Media Company. We are here in the VYPE podcast room here with another edition of the VYPE DFW Weekly Update Show. This week we'll be talking about a lot of games that happened over the weekend, also some players that really stood out and are having big years so far in the first 2 weeks, and then also we will go over the top 4 games in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. But we're going to kick off the show hot. North Crowley beats our number one team in the state, DeSoto, 57-51. This was a big game for North Crowley getting the win. This is a North Crowley team that made it to the state semifinal last year, losing to Duncanville, who won state. But this North Crowley team returned a lot of key pieces. They were able to really put it together this year with a lot of those players returning. They went against a DeSoto team who's, yes, they lost DJ Bailey and lost a few other pieces, but they're still DeSoto. They still have a lot of great athletes, and they are a good football team. But this North Crowley team was able to outlast them and beat them on Friday night. Chris Jemerson had a big game at quarterback, the North Texas commit. Also, Quentin Gibson, 7 receptions, 180 yards, 4 touchdowns. Big game for him, big past 2 weeks for him. I'll be talking about him here in a little while, but North Crowley beating DeSoto was the kind of news around the state, flying around Twitter, flying around social media. So shout out to North Crowley, big win for y'all on Friday night. Another game we look at, Duncanville opened up their season. They played South Oak Cliff. They won 34-12, a little bit closer score than we might have thought it would have been. But Duncanville still was able to do things on offense. They were still Keelan Russell and DeCorian Moore both had really big games. Defensively, Landon Barnes and KJ Ford also had big games. So you look at Duncanville, and they're still doing good things. But I was pleased to see the South Oak Cliff team kind of really compete in this game. It was only 21-12, I believe, at half, or 28-12 at half. And they were able to score points. They were able to do things offensively. So South Oak Cliff, they'll play Longview this next week, and I think that they're really going to flip the script after this upcoming week and really become the South Oak Cliff that we've seen in the past, and then have a nice little playoff run once they get there. But that's another game we're looking at. And then Coppell gets a huge win in overtime over Waxahachie. They win 28-27. That's a thriller. Big win for Coppell as they're beating Waxahachie, who plays in that Duncanville DeSoto district. All right, next segment, we got players that are balling right now. I touched on a few of them, but we're going to give you some stats, give you some why that we picked them to be our players that are balling this week. Keelan Russell, the Duncanville quarterback, Alabama commit, had a big game, 25 for 39 passing with 325 yards and 5 touchdowns in the win over South Oak Cliff this past week. Keelan had a big summer at the Elite 11, winning Elite 11 MVP, is now a 5-star, the top quarterback in the state. So Keelan's off to a hot start already in week 1, and they've got a big game this week that we'll be touching on here in a little bit. DeCorian Moore was another player that had a big game, obviously. The Oregon commit had 9 receptions, 119 yards, and a touchdown in his first game of the year. Number 1 wide receiver in the country, was doing his thing against South Oak Cliff this week. And then North Crowley's wide receiver, Quentin Gibson, had a huge stat line in the win over DeSoto. He had 7 receptions, 180 yards, and 4 touchdowns. The kid has been on a tear in the first 2 weeks of the season. His recruitment has seen an increase since this game on Friday night. I expect it to continue to take off here in the next few weeks. And this North Crowley football team with him, Chris Jemerson, who is our honorable mention players that are balling this week, I expect them to continue to this run that they're on and make it back to that state semifinal game against Duncanville. And who knows what can happen once they get there. All right, so now we're going to look at our top 4 games of the week for week 3 of the Texas high school football season. First matchup, we're looking at Highland Park takes on Dallas Jesuit. This game will be played at SMU. Highland Park's 2-0. They're off to a great start of their season. Excited to see what they do against this Dallas Jesuit team who has been really good in years past. This should be a really good matchup this weekend at SMU. Very excited to see how that game plays out. The second game I'll be looking at is this Byron Nelson versus South Lake Carroll game. First district game for both teams. You know, both teams are 2-0. This will be a big game with both of them being undefeated. Byron Nelson took on Louisville, won 28-23 last week. South Lake Carroll won big against Hebron last week. So really big game for both teams, as it could shift the momentum for either team going throughout the rest of the district schedule. So really excited to watch this game. The third game we'll be looking at, Louisville versus Rockwall. This is a Rockwall team that I last week was talking about could be another team to look out for in the Dallas DFW area. You know, and then you look at this Louisville team. They took a tough loss at Byron Nelson last week. Can they bounce back with a win this week against Rockwall? Really excited to watch that game. And then the final game, which is probably our headliner of the Dallas area games, Duncanville taking on St. Francis Academy. They're coming down from Maryland to take on Duncanville at their place. Should be a big-time matchup between both teams. National-level recruits on both sides of the ball. I'm excited to see how Duncanville plays in this one. As you know, this will be a great game to help prepare them for district play, and then also for a playoff run once playoffs get here. Really excited to see Keelan Russell, Decorian Moore, and that offense, what they can do against the St. Francis defense. So this will be a game we'll be keeping a close eye on this week. All right, well, that will do it for our VYPE DFW weekly update show for week 3. My name is Jackson DePasquale, and we'll see you at the games.